Today we're going to take a look at red dots and crown the official king of pistol red dots. Before we do that, a couple of disclaimers. All the red dots that I talk about and all the optics that I have right here, I have paid for myself, so nothing has been supplied to me. I work in the gun industry, but that doesn't mean I get free stuff all the time. These are my own pieces, and I'm giving you my own unbiased opinion. I'm never going to hammer on a company too hard because I may have to work with them in the future, and that's just not good business. But I will give you my honest opinion without being a total jerk about it. Now, getting into pistol red dots, this is a topic that's been covered and probably flogged to death by a lot of different channels. Go to Sage Dynamics if you want like the deep breakdown of every single dot and his review on everything. Aaron Cowan is a data nerd, so if you just want to skip my video and go right to his channel, you're going to get way more data than you will from me. Today, you're just going to get my opinion, and it's kind of funny that we're talking about what my opinion is on the best red dot, because I woke up this morning and I had a burst blood vessel in my eye, so it looks like I got a red dot just cruising around in my eyeball all the time. So before we get into it, the two dots I'm talking about today are the Trijicon SRO and the Trijicon RMR Type 2. I'm just going to get right to it and talking about all the other pistol red dots. They don't even qualify as a top two for me. First off, if you're talking about Holosuns, I have had bad experiences personally with Holosun pistol dots. I like their rifle red dots and I love the ACSS reticle, so I use that a lot. But pistol dots, I've had horrible experience, so I'll never run a Holosun pistol red dot. Some of the cheaper variants out there, like the Shield RMSC, Viper. I had a Vortex Viper and a Vortex Venom. Both of those, I had some severe reliability issues. Once again, I think their rifle dots are great, but pistol dots, it's just not, it's not even in the same class as Trijicon products. I'm going to make a lot of people mad and say I don't think the DPP is a very good dot either. I know people love it, but it's just not, for me, the window's small and it's very easily broken. I've seen a lot of DPPs that are broken, so it just doesn't even qualify. Now, if you're going to talk about, what about, Seymour or Aimpoint or, some of the other random small companies out there, what is it? SIG makes their own site, but it's really from Shield. So whatever, have your own opinions. I've tried quite a few of them. I haven't tried every single one, but when I look at it, it comes down to a race between these two for the title of king. Run whatever you want, feel good, but let's just get that stuff out of the way. So getting right down to it, I've got two dots here. I'm going to be comparing the 2.5 MOA SRO to the 3.25, I think this is a 3.25 MOA Type 2 RMR. And there's two different columns, so maybe I'll put something up on the screen if I get froggy with it. But let's start with price. So on a price comparison, the RMR Type 2 and the SRO are very, very close. The RMR Type 2, I think the MSRP is $699, which is a lot for a red dot. But then again, you go over here and the MSRP is $749. Now, when you can get them, the real world pricing is going to be more in the neighborhood of like $500 to $550 street price. And then the SRO is going to be, $550 to $600. So on price, the RMR beats the SRO as far as, the real world street pricing by about $50 on average. Now, when it comes to availability, the RMR wins as well, because go online and try to find an SRO, especially the 2.5 MOA, good luck. It's going to be very hard to find an SRO online, whereas the RMR Type 2s are more readily available. Now, is that because Trijicon is making more RMRs or because the SRO is more popular? I'm not sure, but this is going to be more easy to get right now. So once again, that's another point in the column for the RMR. Now, changing batteries. This is the next topic. So the RMR, you have to remove the whole optic off of your pistol and then actually replace the battery from the bottom. In previous generations, there were some flicker issues, so there are some base plates out there that you can put on underneath to remove that flicker issue. On the Type 2, I haven't had any problems with flicker. I haven't had any issues with that, and the battery is still good. But the problem is when you take the optic off and you put it back on, you need to re-zero it and make sure that you torque those screws down. So the RMR is a little bit of a pain in the butt, and the SRO fixes that because it has a top mount battery. Now, the problem with the top mount battery is going to go into the reliability column, but as far as the ease of changing it, this is easier. So changing the battery, the SRO wins because you don't have to take the optic off. Now, I'm only going to give it like a half check mark because the little top plate, the battery cover that you put on here, it is very easy, and I see them dinged up and scratched all the time. Not that your guns have to look perfect, but getting a screwdriver or a tool in there to move that, it's really, soft aluminum. They get all messed up. So that's number one. Number two, I have had a lot of issues with battery contact, making good battery contact with SROs. So sometimes they'll just flicker and die. I've had a lot of SROs do that, and what I found helps is taking a little piece of aluminum foil, sandwiching it over, and putting it in between the top of the battery and the battery cap to make sure that it's making good contact all the time. So reliability on that is a little bit suspect, but you can go ahead and do that little trick, and the SRO will be a little more reliable. Now, when it comes to durability, I'm going to give the RMR the win over the SRO. The SRO's large window, which I'll talk about in just a second, obviously gives it an edge in visibility, but this large window in this big housing here makes it more of a crush problem, or more of a likelihood of the glass breaking. So smaller window and thicker metal around it, thicker aluminum, that makes the RMR more durable. So if you're concerned for durability, RMR over SRO. Now, ease of use. The SRO has a much, much larger window than the RMR. And I'll tell you right now, between the two, if you give a new shooter that's new to red dots both of these optics, the SRO is going to be much easier for them with that larger window to find the dot, okay? Because the first thing when you start using red dots is finding the dot's going to be a little bit of an issue. You'll figure out how to push out and get the dot in the same place. Having a larger window is going to help for the initial shot, and then also tracking your follow-up shots and seeing how the dot reacts. A bigger window is going to help. So when it comes to ease of use, the SRO wins over the RMR. Nice. Nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, you got one more. Now, when it comes to backup sighting and co-witnessing, I'm going to give the RMR 2 check marks over the SRO because of two reasons. Number one, the ability to mount the co-witness sight, the rear sight in front of the optic or behind. So you have those two different options. On the SRO, this extended hood makes that not possible on most guns unless you have some gigantic slide. So you only have one option for mounting your backup sights, and that's behind the optic. Now, why would you want to mount your rear sight in front of the optic? There's a lot of different theories about it. I don't subscribe to any of them. I just like having more options. So the RMR gives me the option of putting it in front of the optic as opposed to behind it. Whereas this hood on the SRO, there's just no room to make that happen, behind only. Now, the second check mark that I'm giving it in backup sighting is in emergency situations where your glass is broken, the emitter has broken, or mud or snow or something is covering the optic, and you can't use it and you can't use your backup sights. So this is something that I learned taking the Red Dot Pistol Instructor course from Sage Dynamics about how to have a backup sighting system. The SRO is very difficult. If you completely lose the ability to see through the optic, it's very tough to get any kind of a sight picture to make a shot. So really, you just have to take the optic, and let's say it's completely covered up, you don't have a dot, there's nothing that can be seen through it. You just have to cover the person, aim a little bit low, and hope that you hit them. Now, when it comes to the RMR, there is this nice little U-shaped ledge here that almost operates as a backup sight. So the way I was taught to do this is if you have no sight picture, your glass is completely broken, no dot, no backup sights, you take this U, and depending on the distance between you and your target, you use this U as a way to target. So typically, if you're gonna be within 5 to 10 yards, you take this little U and you put the two little wings right here and make a U shape right around their belly, okay? Because we have a tendency when we bring the gun up to have more of a muzzle up position. During that course, I was able to test this theory out. It works very well. So backup sighting without any sight picture, broken glass, no backup sights, there is an option with RMR, whereas the SRO, it's your best guess, especially when you get to distance. So the bottom line is, if you're looking to put a red dot on your pistol, my recommendation is go with Trijicon. And if you're considering the SRO or the RMR and you haven't tried both of them, I would start with the RMR. This is probably where you're going to end up. But then again, if you get the SRO, I'm not saying it's unreliable or a bad optic. I run it on one of my carry guns, and I have it on the Zev right here. So I have plenty of SROs as well. This is just the one that I think is a better choice for more people. But, you know, I don't think you can go wrong either way.